Hang in there, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a moment. I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything in line and give some time for some people to come on and watch from the beginning. We'll be right with you. All right, here we go. We're live. Welcome to another episode on Genealogy TV. Let me get, just give me 1 second here to get organized. I am going to pull up a couple things here real quick and we're going to get started right now. Welcome everybody. I am so glad to be doing another live show. It's been a couple months and I can't thank you enough for all the comments already pulling in. Hello Deb and Michael and Joyce and Janet and David and Robin and Lee, Kyle, Jackie, Bonita, Denise. Hey Denise, I know you. Hey, welcome, and so exciting to have everybody here. Today we're going to be talking about doing a genealogy road trip. So let me real quickly here get my act together here so that I can help facilitate this. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to prepare archive, cemetery, and library. Wherever you're going, we're going to be talking about how to prepare for that because really the most successful trip is in the preparation. Hey, Cheryl, Cynthia, welcome. Good to see you. So we're also going to be answering some questions some comments from the previous videos. And in the end, I hope to be able to take some questions. So if you could hold your questions to the end of the show, that would be helpful because I have a hard time scrolling back up through the chat window and finding them. You can always try and put a question in there. I will try and answer it on the fly, but once I kind of get into the content, I like to keep going for the sake of those who are watching also on the replay. All right, so, and I also have the results of a poll that I took a little while ago, which there was a reason I asked this question, and the question was, are you using Ancestry, FamilySearch, a combination of both, or a combination of other things? Kind of a very simple question, but there was a reason and a lesson for that, so I want to share that with you kind of toward the end of the show. So if this is your first time here to Genealogy TV and or the live show, my name is Connie Knox. I am a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further faster and factually with your family research. Now, we have a lot of things that we're going to be talking about throughout the day. If you are new here, please let me know in the comment sections. I would love to hear from you. Also, let me know where you're watching from. We've already got people calling in or texting in from Minnesota, DC, North Carolina, Texas, Florida, South Florida. Welcome everybody. It is so good to see you. If you are not a subscriber of Genealogy TV, I recommend you do so, because that allows you, I think, to get into the chat and to be able to chat. Also, Genealogy TV has a website at genealogytv.org. I was double checking the audio to make sure you guys were hearing me. I think you are. And so there is a website there. I usually put up all of the show notes and links and extra little tidbits up there. Also, I'm on Facebook. Genealogy TV has its own Facebook page. Do try and get up there and find the Facebook page. It's at facebook.com/genealogytv. I would say that is probably my primary push point when I'm trying to send out information about Genealogy TV and or videos or just funny little, jokes and things. So Facebook is my first point. I am on Instagram and Twitter, but really Facebook is my first point right now. I hope to grow more into the other platforms as well. There is a newsletter that comes out. In fact, I just sent one out a few minutes ago, just kind of announcing, hey, we're going live. And the newsletter link is so crazy long, I couldn't put it on the screen, but it is should be in the description below. And well, let's jump over to, oh, well, you know what? I have to thank some of the supporters and the patrons here at Genealogy TV. If you would like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/Genealogy TV. Also, hey, by the way, this is always fun. We're going to get into that subject here in a minute, I promise. I have a ton of this is my favorite one. My favorite design. The Genealogy Happy Dance t-shirt. If you want to help support the channel and you want a t-shirt out of it, and I see Deb is on here. I know she's bought several. You can do that at teespring.com/Genealogy TV. Also, if you want to help support the channel, I really appreciate it. The super chats are available. PayPal donations have been most appreciative. All of it is very appreciative. If you would like to help support the channel in a non-monetary way, you can do so by giving me a thumbs up, give me a chat, share, comment, give us suggestions. We all share and learn from each other, and I'm always encouraging that as well. And that helps the channel grow as well. So you are helping me every time you do that. So thank you so much. There's also group coaching. I'm mentioning all this in the front end because I want to make sure that you are fully aware of all the services that I have here at Genealogy TV. So there's group coaching. That is 5 people per session. You can learn more about that at genealogytv.org/insiders, as well as individual coaching. If you want to sign up for those, you can jump over to the Patreon page at patreon.com/Genealogy TV. Just scroll down to the bottom and you can see I put on the wings here the let me see if I can make that something you are interested in getting a little bit more help. I know I get a lot of questions. I try and answer as many of the questions and comments as I can. But sometimes coaching is helpful as well. Also, for those who are new to the live stream, I just want to remind you, this is a screenshot from a previous episode. There is the chat window on the side, and if you're watching right now in a full screen mode, you're not going to see the chat window. You might need to minimize that window a little bit in order to see the chat window. Because I encourage everybody in the chat that if there are questions that people are throwing out there and I haven't had a chance to answer it, please jump in. If you know the answer, jump into the chat window and give them the answer or give them a link or, something to help out. So let me take a moment to say hello to some folks. We've got, let's see who I missed here. Marilyn and Salty Shanker from Michigan. Hello from Minnesota. Port Byron, New York. Maine. Wilmington, Delaware. Hey, Walter. I see you watching on videoonline.com. Let's see. Deb is there. Hello from Sweden. Hello from England. Wow. You guys are staying up late to watch. Thank you very much. Hello from Texas. And a special shout out to my husband, Walter, who's watching right now. I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again soon. And all right, let's move on to the road trip. So this is all about how to prepare for a genealogy road trip. And so my motto for today is, hey, Allison from Florida. My motto for today is plan your research and research your plan. You know, I'm stealing this from back when I was in scuba diving class, and they said, plan your dive and dive your plan. I've heard that pilots do this with plan your flight and fly your plan. I'm stealing it for research, okay? So plan your research and research your plan when you're taking a road trip. So that is the motto for today. So the steps, and a lot of what we're going to talk about today is before you go, because this is the key to success. Hello from British Columbia. Holy cow, Canada. The steps before you go. Ask yourself who it is that you are trying to research and kind of gather that in your head. Who is it you're researching in the location in which you're researching? We're also going to be talking about research locations, creating a timeline of your trip, your travel plans, and preparing for the research plan. So researching in the areas that you are looking at. So maybe you're going to a family reunion, or you are specifically going after answering a research question. You may be looking at archives, museums, libraries, cemeteries, courthouses, genealogical societies, and historical societies. Please don't overlook those. Visiting family members, and maybe just points of interest. Maybe you're going to a place that has historic monuments, Civil War battlefields, that kind of stuff. So be mindful of that. So you are also looking at the timeline for your trip. We want to prepare a timeline, and we don't want you to overwhelm yourself with too much to do while you're on the trip. So make sure you are prioritizing those locations that you're researching, kind of the must-see locations first, and then the secondary locations. And I'm going to mention this a couple times, so please don't get sick of hearing it. I'm going to tell you to call ahead to the locations in which you are researching, because things happen. For example, last week I went to the the North Carolina Archives here, and I called ahead. And she said, boy, good thing you called, because we're going under construction next week and we're going to be closed. I'm like, oh, good thing I called. So, I mean, they don't always put this stuff on the website. So make sure that you are looking ahead, you're calling ahead, and you're talking to them. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute. Also, allow time for meal breaks, just some flexible time. Don't overcommit yourself to the amount of research that you want to do in the time that you were there. Allow time for extra locations. And what I'm talking about here is I'm saying, look, you get to the archive, the library, or, the cemetery or whatever, and you're talking to somebody there, and they said, oh, well, did you know about the place down the street? And you go, no, I didn't know about that. And, oh, you've got to check that out, because your ancestors, whatever, are either buried there or they fought in this battlefield or whatever. And so, it might be a house that's still there or something. You never know. But allow for a little extra time for unknown locations, and pack a lunch. And I say snacks, lunch, drinks, because food opportunities are not always available. I always throw a peanut butter sandwich or two in the car, and a couple bottles of water, and maybe some carrots or some potato chips or something to snack on while you're there. So before you leave home, again, our motto, plan your research and research your plan. You're going to be thinking about your research goals. What is it that you want to know while you're there? I'm taking a quick look at the chat window. Hello from Don and Linda in Greenville, South Carolina. Welcome. So you're going to ask yourself, what are your research questions in the specific areas you're researching? Who are the ancestors you're researching? What is the community in which they lived in? Is there more than one family cluster or clan that you're researching? It could be that you suspect that a couple was married, or like there's two families that married somehow. So you want to research both family groups while you're there. And that also speaks to cluster research. So you want to do that as well. Also, what era are you researching? and or events. So if there was a specific event, a skirmish that happened in that area that your ancestors were involved in, or a wedding or something that you want to learn more about, maybe that you can find more information about in the local library or in the courthouse or the repository that you're headed to. Now, write it down. Don't just think about it, write it down. Write your mission, your goals down. And I like to think of it as the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, why, and maybe a how. And so that you can clearly define what it is that your priority is, priorities maybe, plural, and maybe your secondary priorities if you have time. So your research plans continue on before you leave home. We're continuing on with this theme of before we leave, because it will make your life so much happier when you get there. Don't get squirreled as you're starting to prepare your plan, right? Stay on your mission. For those who are not familiar with the term getting squirreled, think of it as the puppy dog going in the backyard and he sees a squirrel and he runs off in a different direction, and he sees another squirrel and he runs off in another direction. So we do this all the time when we're doing genealogy research. We go, oh, there's a record. Let me go look at that. Oh, wait, well, that, 2 hours later, you realize that's not even the ancestor that you're really researching. And so you kind of get lost along the way. If you've been squirreled, I want to hear about it in the chat window. Go ahead and tell me. I've been squirreled before. You know what I'm talking about. All right. So then we're also going to talk about researching online. So now it's time. Before you leave, you're going to get online. You're going to go to their websites. Everybody's got websites these days. Some are better than others, but most of them have a Visit Us page, which I highly recommend you check out, because it's going to have information about parking. It's going to have information about local, some of them even have information about local hotels and things in the area, other museums and things that you might want to visit. They're going to have the address, the phone number, because you're going to call ahead. Oh, did I say that before? Yes, I did. You're going to call ahead. So it also has an About Us page typically, and a genealogy researchers page, which guides you straight. And this is great at courthouses too. I love this because county courthouses have a lot of responsibility. They're not just there for us genealogists, right? And so a lot of times they will put up, I'm seeing everybody gotten squirreled before. That's hilarious. Anyhow, the genealogy page is going to have a lot of information specific to our genealogy research. Okay, so now we're still at home. We're still preparing. So you want to get on the website. You want to look at their collections, what services they have. Now, sometimes you can even get records remotely, depending on the repository, whether they even offer that or not. Sometimes they have a preservation mission mentioned up there. I'm just suggesting that you're aware of that. It might be that you have documents that you want to bring with you, that you want to donate to that repository. Make sure that you are, again, calling ahead and asking them if that's the type of materials that they take. And don't forget to look for the finding aids. Oh my gosh, the finding aids are huge. I know that everyone, I don't want to read all that stuff. Read it, because I'll tell you, 5 minutes with a finding aid can save you 2 hours of on-site research. Okay, so determine what's not online. I should have underlined that and made it in big, bold, red letters. What is not online? Because a lot of times these records are online, but a lot of times they're not. And we're going to hear more about that here a little bit later. But so the trick is to find what's not online so that you're not wasting your time going to look for records that are already available online. Now, in some cases, you're going to want to look at records that are already online because the microfilm was scratched and it was hard to see, or there was a record that was faint and you want to see the original. So there's nothing wrong with that. If you find a record online that is difficult to see, then you're going to want to take down the call information and all the source information so that when you're at the archive or the library or whatever, you can pull that record and look at it directly and see, because sometimes, especially when records have really faint handwriting, I see this a lot in wills, then you can see the hand stroke a little bit better if you're looking at the original record. Denise says, I have a problem with this with newspapers. I always start reading other articles. So you've been squirreled before, Denise. All right. Sometimes checking the next day paper to learn more. Hey, that's a good idea. All right, so where was I? Okay, so in the card catalog, now this is the big one. You want to start looking in the card catalogs, and I know at the North Carolina Archives, I stole these categories from the North Carolina Archives website. They have it broken down by government records, genealogies, audiovisual materials, Bible records, maps, newspapers, military records, and so on. I was digging into all of those on this recent trip I was working on because I found stuff in the private collections I didn't know was there. So that was huge because I found probably 35 papers in the private collection that benefited the research I was doing. So also make sure you're searching by name and by location. I do it both. I'll go especially if I'm at a state level or a national level archive, I will search by location and name together. Then I will search just the location, and I will search just the surname or the full name, depending. Separately, you'll get different results every time. You never know what you're going to find. And I also have a trick. You're going to love this. Hang on, let me pause before I tell you my trick. I want to see what Michael said here. He says, as someone who runs a historical society, they can have very unique information. We offer collections, discarded family items. However, we are too small to have those records online. High five to you, Michael, for sharing that. I have more information about that going on down the line as well. Hello to everybody. Deb is mentioning holiday hours. Yes, and they don't always post them online. So make sure, again, calling ahead to make sure that they're not on vacation, or some are closed on Mondays. Heads up. Some are closed on Mondays. They'll close on Sunday and Monday, and they'll be open Tuesday through Saturday. So again, if you're planning a trip and you think you're going to show up Monday morning and they aren't there, you know why. All right, so here's my trick for when you get on a website. Here I'm on the North Carolina Archives website, and all I did was search the name Henley in their little search box and for relevance. And so I get this is much longer page than what you see here, but I get this really long page, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to read through all this. So here's my trick. Use Control F on Windows or Command F on a Mac. Now you can do this on any web page. It doesn't have to be the archives. It can be any website. If it is not an image, basically you say Control F and you type in the name again. I typed in Henley, and it highlights every instance of that word in that document on that web page. Pretty powerful, I think. So it's not the entire website though, and it doesn't replace the search engine, so be mindful of that. So I use these two things in combination with each other. And so here's that little, I can't really point to it, but at the top there, you can see where I typed in the name Henley again, and the gold colored one that says Henley is the second instance of 21. So you can hit the little down arrow there, and it'll pop you through every one of those instances of the word Henley on that page. And so I use this trick a lot. If you've never used it before, I hope you will. I think you'll find it wildly beneficial. And so once I do that, it highlights all of them, and there you go. There's my trick. Let me take a minute here and see. Cool Vatum 7 says, exactly, I cannot find any records of any of my family members online. I'm sorry. I wish I could help there. Right now, my tree has 1,082 people. I cannot go any further back because of American genocide. Armenian genocide. I'm sorry. Didn't see that right there. Well, I hope that you are able to find things soon. All right, locate records, online card catalog, and repositories. So search by names. We talked about this. Search the history of the location and the events. And I'm also suggesting that you search the key fan club members. And if you're not familiar with the fan club is, it's friends, associates, and neighbors, and maybe other family members that are associated that might be helpful in the area in which you research, but don't go crazy with this. All right, so you're looking for the sources of these information. You're trying to determine what exactly is at this archive that you're headed to. And so you've gone online, you've looked at the catalog, you've perused the website for the archive, the library, or the cemetery, or wherever you're going, and you're not quite done yet. Because you want to go wherever you have your normal tree, whether it's Ancestry or FamilySearch or Family Tree Maker or MyHeritage or whatever, Find My Past, wherever you have your tree, you want to start, looking at the records that you have there as well as doing searches there, because they have the source information for some of those places. So, for example, on Ancestry.com, if you, I know this is kind of hard to see, but on the left hand, I'm going to pull this up full screen. Now do you have audio? Somehow the audio went away. I'm so sorry. I don't know how long that lasted. When you go full screen, it cuts out. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm back now. All right, my bad. I don't know what happened, but thank you. I will put audio on everything, I hope. All right, so moving on. So when you go to Ancestry.com, the source button is there, and it pops up with the source citation with information on it. And here it says the county records in possession of individual county clerks and courthouses and the state of North Carolina archive. So let me go back and make sure the audio is still working. It is. Thank you. I just lost audio when you went to full screen. Thank you, Marilyn. Thanks for the heads up. I'm glad I have the chat window open right there. Okay, so point being is you're going to look for the source information on your primary sources of information as well, like Ancestry and FamilySearch and such. And so you can also find it at FamilySearch here. I'm going to go full screen. Hopefully I don't... Wow, every time I go to the full screen, I have to pop the audio back on. That's bizarre. All right, so here, where I have circled in red, when you open up a record on FamilySearch, look for the little I, which means more information, and the drop down. And when you do, let me change slides here, you will get this box pop open, and it shows the source citation. Now, I love the source citations on FamilySearch. They do a great job of putting their source information on here. Thank you, FamilySearch, for that. And so I want to talk about, for a moment, the source citations and looking for the semicolons in source citations. So this is the same source citation that I showed you a second ago on FamilySearch, and I'm saying look for the semicolons, which I've kind of pointed out here, because what it does is it breaks apart the different places that you can find that record. Okay, so coming back now, hopefully the audio is still there. It is. Okay, so basically what it's doing here in red is I'm showing you that is the record group, and that it originally was found, and this is the number 1 area. I've broken this apart now based on the semicolon that's there. That first section is the source citation for that on FamilySearch. The number 2, it says, after the semicolon on the original, it said, we're also citing Randolph County, North Carolina, United States, page 9192, North Carolina State Archives, Division of Archives. So if I'm headed to the North Carolina State Archives, I'm like, okay, the original record is there. And, number 3, it's on Family History Library's microfilm. And there's the record number. So you got 3 different places you can find this, but the original source in this case is at the North Carolina Archives. So when you're creating your research plan, what you're going to do is you're going to look in all of those places. You're going to look on the website of the location in which you're researching for all of the information, everything about your travel and everything, but you're also going to be looking for, in their card catalog, for record call numbers. And I organized the research plan by priorities. So I'm starting with the ancestor that I want to know more than anything else. I want to know about this ancestor. And then I put the record, whatever it is, whether it's a marriage record or a will or whatever, and the call number. And I'm just using call number loosely. There's a variety of different names and numbers that go along with it, depending on what type of record it is. And then I've got the second ancestor, and maybe it's the wife of the first ancestor. I don't know. But that's up for you to determine. But organize all of this. We are still at home doing this homework, and we are getting all these call numbers and records in line, in priority, before we leave. And you know, when you get on site, time is always short, and you know, you're having so much fun at the archive, time flies, and all of a sudden, you know, it's 5 o'clock and they're saying they're getting ready to close, and you're going, but wait, I haven't done everything I want to do. And so if you get on site and you realize that you are doing a lot of the homework that you could have done at home on site at the location, you're kind of wasting your time at the location. So this is why I'm pushing that you get as much work done ahead of time. Now you can do the same thing by priority as well for the locations in which you're researching. For example, if you are not familiar with this town that your ancestor is from, you might want to educate yourself on that. And you can go into their card catalog and find out what books are there as well, and note all those call numbers and those manuscript numbers and different titles and stuff, and create your research plan by location as well. Now, one of the things that I would also recommend is that you also look at WorldCat, because when it comes to books and manuscripts and that kind of stuff, sometimes the copies of those books or manuscripts might be at your local library. So take a look at WorldCat. There's another video on that, but just another tip. All right, so now you're on site. You've walked in, and what do you do first? Take a tour. Ask for help. There are lots of volunteers and paid staff, depending on where you go, who are there to help you. They are doing it because they love to help you. And so I would suggest the first thing you do, if you've never been to this location before, is you walk in and say, may I have a tour? Now, it might be if you go to a really big cemetery, that might not be the best plan of action. But if you're going to an archive or a library or, you know, a family history center, get the tour. My gosh, you will be so thankful you did, because a 20-minute tour will save you hours of fumbling around trying to figure out where everything is. Prioritize your time. And now is where I'm saying work the research plan. You've done hours of research to get to this point. You have walked in, and now you have your plan. It's prioritized. You have the call numbers. You know this stuff is there because you've done the homework. And you can go right. And I have a question that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but somebody was asking about the family history centers. Take the tour. Again, also, try not to get squirreled. Hey, Anna, good to see you. So try not to get squirreled, because work the plan first, then get squirreled, I guess is my point, because you're going to find other stuff along the way. Make a note of it, but move on. Keep working the plan, because those are your priorities, and leave time to relax and enjoy. Enjoy your family, whoever it is that you're visiting while you're there. Take a break, take a breather, go have a nice dinner, come back the next day, and continue your research. So some of the locations, especially archives, will have rules. Please be respectful of the rules. I know that some of the archives will say you can't have bulky jackets, or you can wear it, but you can't take it off. They don't want people stealing stuff. So they're, and so, and I can appreciate that. All of these rules are because somebody did it in the past. So no pins. They don't want you writing on the documents. You can't use a pencil or a pen or anything as a pointer. So don't plan on pointing at anything, because you might damage the records. No bags, no flash photography. Be respectful of the staff. Please be respectful of the staff. And there's usually lockers available at a lot of these locations. And so you can put your bags and your belongings in a locked locker. I usually take a Surface Pro. I take a tablet, a couple pencils. I actually take a whole thing of sharpened pencils ahead of time, because I don't want to be making noise with a pencil sharpener, because I'm trying to be quiet and respectful to the others that are there as well. Also, what you can bring a lot of times are cell phones. Again, you can take pictures at a lot of these places, but you got to check out the rules at the location you're at. You can request photocopies. There's usually a fee, but it's usually not very much. Again, bring pencils, papers, and a computer. Don't forget the power supply for your computer. I typically wear a lightweight sweater, sweatshirt, something that you can stay warm, because a lot of times these places are a little on the cool side for preservation purposes of the records. All right, so let's recap for a moment. Ask yourself the questions about your ancestors. Who is it you're going after? Research the locations in which you want to research. Create a timeline. Research your travel plans. Call ahead. Did I say that before? I think I did. And be very detailed in your research plan. You will thank me later for that. I'm going to take a moment here. I've got questions that I'm going to be answering here in just a second. I want to take a moment and take a look and see who is. Robin says, how do you document your research plan? Software, info. How do you keep track of so much information for the trip? I would really like to see an example of your research plans and documents. I actually did a video on this, and I don't have the link available right now, but it's about research plans. In fact, if you go into my YouTube channel and you go to the video section, there is a search box at the top. You can type research plans, and it'll give up all the videos that I've done with the keywords research plans. But here's how I do it. I do it one of two ways. If I'm going to some place like Salt Lake City, where I'm going to be there for multiple days, I will create my research plan in an Excel document. And again, it's organized by ancestor. It's organized by the priority ancestors. And then I will put all of the documents and call letters in a different field. And I will also put a link in another field to the right of that as to where I found that information, so that when I'm on my little Surface Pro at the library, I can click on that link and bingo, it pops up, and oh yeah, that's right, that's where I got it from. And I can also look at that record while I'm there and learn more about, or remind myself what it was that I was looking for. And then to the right of that, I put the results. So I do a research plan and a research log all in one document. I'm all about saving time. So that, Robin, I hope answers your question. Michael says, I use my photo to take pictures of everything. Yes, I use my phone. I do. I take pictures of everything, and then I bring it back, and sometimes I'll use TurboScan. I don't know if you're familiar with that app. And that makes an instant PDF. and you can take multiple pages and create one PDF out of it, email it to yourself in seconds. It's really kind of cool. But I do agree that I prefer to take photographs because they are better quality than the turbo scan PDF images, just like any PDF. Hello from Texas. Good to see you, Sherry. All right, now, if you have any more tips, I'd love to hear about it. Put them in the chat window. If you're watching on the replay, put it in the comments sections below, and we will share those throughout the rest of the program. So I had a question from Kathy, and I hope you can see this because I don't want to go full screen on this again, just because of the audio issue. Kathy says, can you cover any specific tips visiting the Family History Library in Salt Lake City? I will be attending NGS conference. Thanks, Connie. Thanks, Kathy. This is from the Facebook feed over there at Genealogy TV on Facebook. So, yes, but I've covered almost all of them, Kathy, on this video so far. So when you go to Salt Lake City and you walk into the Family History Center, first of all, you got to do the happy dance when you're there because I get so excited. It's like Disneyland to me. When you come off the elevators, you're walking right into a reception area. There is a desk there loaded with volunteers, and it's their mission to help you. So if you are brand new to genealogy, tell them, I'm brand new to genealogy and I want to learn more. They will give you the appropriate person for that. If you are an experienced genealogist and you say, look, I'm looking for this particular record because I've got my research plan, because Connie said to do a research plan before I got here, and here's the call number, how do I find that? They will take you right to the record. And in the case of a brand new genealogist, a lot of times that person will stay with you right there. They have computers there. They will help you go through that, and they will keep you on track and help you go through it while you're there. I think probably for as long as you need their help. There are a lot of volunteers there. There's people that are specialized in certain areas like Scandinavian research or German research or whatever. So just make sure you're asking there at the front desk. That's my biggest tip for Salt Lake City. Next question from Benjamin. One of the most successful locations I found hasn't made your list. I'm not sure if it's the same in America, but in Australia, virtually every township has a historic society, which is an absolute wealth of information for photographs. And this came from the video that I did, 10 places to find your ancestor in photos. Thank you, Benjamin, for the tip. Absolutely. I did forget to mention it in that video as one of many places you can find your ancestors in photos. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. From the video Beyond the Hints, which has just been incredibly successful. Thank you, everybody, for that. This was from Beyond the Hints on FamilySearch and Ancestry, where I kind of dug deeper on some of the algorithms that they're bringing up. And Kyle says, is there any way for me to see who has saved my information from my tree in the form of person hints? I'm assuming you're talking about Ancestry, so I'm going to talk about that. On Ancestry, there is. When you go to the gallery and you've got your records in there and your photographs in there, there on the right-hand side, there is a place that says it's saved by, and it's got these little people icons. Well, the little people icons turn into the icons with pictures if a Ancestry member has put their picture up, but you can drill into those. You can actually click on those and go find that member. So I hope that answered your question there. From the same video, Barry asks, hello, could I upload my whole tree from Ancestry to, or Family Tree Maker straight into FamilySearch, or would I have to enter it manually? I did this years ago, and I actually had to go look this up because it's been so long since I've done it that I had to look this up. So here's what you do. You export a GEDCOM from whatever service that it is that you are using, and then you import it to the other service. So in this case, you were asking about FamilySearch. And I went digging and I found that the page in which you would import the GEDCOM file to FamilySearch. And I put the link down below here, familysearch.org, my trees / my trees. So full disclosure, I haven't done this in a long time. So, you know, I haven't really experimented with it before. I mean, recently. But one thing that I do know with GEDCOMs that everybody should be aware of is that if you are downloading from whatever service you're using a GEDCOM file, it does not bring with it any of the photographs or any of the records. It only brings the data. That is the birth, marriage, death, divorce, places, names, dates, all of that kind of stuff is included in the GEDCOM file, but not the images and the records. So be mindful of that. You'll have to re-upload that to FamilySearch. Next question, how accurate is FamilySearch.org from Nate? Nate, here's my answer. There are two parts of FamilySearch that I recognize, well, three, but really you've got that I find extremely valuable. You've got the family tree, which is the World Collaborative Tree. You've got the records that they provide, and you've also got the FamilySearch Wiki, which is a whole other story, but it is a fabulous resource. So let's talk about the World Tree. The World Tree is created by you, me, and everybody else out there. It is a collaborative tree, and it is one big tree. So it's only as good as the volunteer or the genealogist who put that information up. And in some cases, some people, like we just talked about with a GEDCOM, they may have downloaded a GEDCOM from someplace or got it from somewhere, and they uploaded it to FamilySearch. It could be there's errors in there. It could be that there's duplicated people in there. It happens. And even when you upload that GEDCOM, by the way, you can create duplicates in the World Tree when you do that. So be mindful of that. There are probably some cleanup on the back end. So how accurate is FamilySearch? I use FamilySearch as a tool. I don't rely on it to be absolutely accurate. It's not going to be. I know it's not. I bet everybody that is watching right now can attest to that. But it is everybody's best intention, I think, to create a tree that is the best it can be. Based on what we know. And if there are errors in it, well, along the way on FamilySearch, people will slowly, as they're researching various ancestors, they will start correcting that information. And that's what the whole collaborative part is. On the record side, records are just that. They all need analysis. And you may find that you are looking at a record that the informant may not have been the primary person, and so it becomes a secondary source, and they may not have had their facts together exactly when they were telling whoever it was that was filling out the certificate of information, and so there may be errors in the records. So again, just setting that aside, even the census taker could have made a mistake. So how accurate is FamilySearch? It'll never be perfect. That's kind of the gist of it. Next question from the same video, Beyond the Hints. Crystal asks, another person got credit for posting my family photos. How did that happen? What did I do incorrectly? So you didn't do anything wrong, Crystal. The truth of the matter is it happens all the time when you upload. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate the super chat. Anytime that you have a record up there, I really appreciate the keep it up. I love it. You put a record online, it's really available to the public. And so what happens is, this is a lesson for everybody, people download that photograph and then they turn around and upload it again. So it may be originally your photograph, but you put it online to share it with the world, and thank you for doing that. But the reality is people don't realize what they're doing when they download a photograph and then turn around and upload it. It now looks like they are the original source. So I encourage people to link that photograph to their ancestor instead of downloading it and uploading it again, because there's a value to this. When you allow the original source to stay with the original image, then it might be that original source has a whole lot more information about the ancestor, because if they own that photograph, they might own the Bible records, they might own other photographs. And so I encourage you to link, whenever possible, those images to your ancestor instead of downloading them to your computer and then uploading them again. Now, Ancestry is probably doing a happy dance when I say that, because what happens is when you download that image to your computer and you upload it again, it now takes up twice the amount of space on their servers, and it costs them money. Just saying. Same for FamilySearch. So when you upload the same image twice, or 15 people upload that same image again, then, you know, it's taking up space. So I hope that helped. Deborah says, when you don't have to ask, let's see, when you don't have family to ask, how do you know the hints are right hints? How do you know that they're the right person? There are millions of Jones Smiths and Fosters out there. Yeah, this is kind of a tough one, but this is where cluster research comes in. This is where you start identifying the people that are around your ancestors. So if you have John Doe as your ancestor, and you start identifying the people that are in his life, and you go to the next hint, and you find, you're going, I'm not sure. You start digging around, you might find that some of the people that are in that person's circle of influence, or the cluster, thus cluster genealogy, or the fan club, then you might be able to start tracing that this, in fact, is the same person. You see this a lot with census records. So if you're going from 1880 to 1870, for example, and you look at all the neighbors around your ancestor, and you go, oh, there's a Bob Jones living next door to my ancestor, and on the other side there is, I don't know, John Smith. And then you go to the next census record, and sure enough, Bob Jones is living there, and John Smith is living on the other side. Then you know you've got the right family, because the census taker is walking door to door going down the street. And sometimes, because over time houses are built in between other houses, you might find that John Smith is 2 or 3 houses down now. Things change over time is my point, but you can still identify those ancestors by age, by data, by the cluster. And so I hope that was helpful. I'm going to take a minute and say, Robin says, if you had to make a choice of a trip, would you choose Salt Lake over a location of your ancestors, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in my case? I'm trying to see which would be the best based on time, cost, etc. That's a tough question. It depends on the research you do ahead of time. So if you go through the plan that, let's pretend for a moment that you do what I just did. You go through it and you pretend you're going to Philly, and you pretend you're going to Salt Lake City. And you create a research plan for each one of those. Which one's going to net you more? Which one are you going to find the records for? That might help. And then you can do a cost analysis also as to, you know, time and money as to whether one's more beneficial than the other. It might be that Salt Lake City has all the records that Philly has. It might be on microfilm, but it might be that it might be that Salt Lake City has everything. I wouldn't count on it, but it might be that you plan this year to go one place and next year to go to another place. Did I catch that last one? Yes, I think I answered that one. All right. From Tom Zito, a patron. Thank you so much, Tom. He says, thank you for all these tips, Connie. Just when I think I know it all on a topic like hints or search, I watch one of your videos and learn something new. In this case, it was the landing page on FamilySearch. I have the habit of cruising right past it and going directly to the search or card catalog. Very interesting. Thank you, Tom. And me too. That's kind of why I created the video, because I got in the habit of doing that, and I went, wait a minute, I need to just stop once in a while and take a look and see what all of these other hints are that are popping up. Another patron. Herb Smith says, very informative as usual. How do you get records from FamilySearch to Ancestry? That's a really good question. The only way I know how to do it is to download them and upload them. There's no way to massively do it. Now you can get the data, as I mentioned before, with a GEDCOM transfer, but it's not going to transfer the images or the records. D. Bloomgren, I think I pronounced that right, said, you had me at factually. I put this up just because it cracked me up. This was from the video, how we use family tree DNA. Part 1, this was a 3-part series, but of course that's from the tagline that I use at the beginning of every video, that I'm here to help you go further, faster, and factually. So thank you. That was too funny. All right. Question from the website. Again, Herb Smith said, not sure if you use an iPad or a Surface Pro, MS Surface, but my question is whether you use the Ancestry or Family Search apps. So if so, what do you think of them? I highly recommend them for the cell phone. I don't use them on my Surface Pro because my Surface Pro is basically a computer and it has, you know, the full Chrome search. So I just use it like a regular website that I would here on my computer. So I hope that helps answer your question there. If you have any questions, by the way, now's the time to start plugging them in into the chat window. All right, so this was the best comment of all I have seen recently. Sean, and we kind of briefly talked about this. Sean says, I had to go to the county courthouse. Many smaller counties can't afford to have them uploaded. It was a successful journey. I made it back to 1644 with no gaps. So I give him the 5-clap award. Bravo, Sean. Yes. Big lesson there. So this is why we take road trips, people, because a lot of the libraries, the historical societies, the courthouses, especially in small towns, they can't afford to upload these. Now, a lot of these libraries have newspapers that are not online, and you might find your ancestor there. And so when you're looking for research for newspapers specifically, and you call ahead and you find out that that newspaper is there for the time period in which you are researching, if you know exactly, like, for example, somebody has passed away and you're looking for an obituary, if you know the date that the person died, then you can go research the newspapers in and around that date to see if you can get the obituary out of there. And of course, if you get it, perhaps you can take a picture of it and upload it for everyone else in the future. So thank you, Sean, for that. That was awesome. So, recent poll that I did was this question. I said, do you use Ancestry, FamilySearch, both or other, in combination with each other is basically what I was getting at. And 67% of the people said, yes, they use Ancestry and FamilySearch together as a combination, which I say kudos to you, because both services, and quite frankly all of the other services, MyHeritage and Find My Past and all the different places that you can use for your research, they don't all have the same records. Now, a lot of them overlap, especially with census records, but a lot of them don't. And so if you are exclusively in Ancestry.com, that if you're in that 21%, I highly recommend that you get used to using FamilySearch.org as a tool for research as well. It is free. You probably at some point will need to have to sign up for a free account, but it's free. They're not going to hound you for buying something later on. So, you know, I highly recommend that you use both. I'm always a big advocate for that. So, I just wanted to share that because I thought it was another good lesson. Now, let's chat. I am done with the slide presentation, and I am here for you to answer your questions. I am going to go see if I can pull this up full screen and not lose the audio. Hey, audio is still there. So Robin says, oh, we already answered that one. Jackie says, Connie, do you have any pointers on how to get information on the Michigan farm for epileptics? Oh boy, you're getting beyond me. That sounds like a Google search. In Indian Fields, Tuscaloosa County, Michigan. If anybody has the answer to that, please put it in the chat window or the comment sections if you're watching on the replay. Honestly, I do not. My uncle was there from 1930 to 1940. Now, what I would do is get a hold of the local library, the local, I don't know how big of an area this is. There might be a family history center in that area. But I would certainly start looking in that county and dig around. Now, the county courthouse might have something too. I would certainly do some homework online and call ahead. Michael says, volunteering at your local history society is a great way to meet some very nice people. Try it, he says. Amen, brother. You know, they always need more volunteers. And what Michael forgot to mention was that it's a great way to learn about the records there and what, boy, there's nothing like working there and helping others to learn yourself. So I think, out of questions, I'm going to take a quick look back and see if I missed anything. Is it possible? Kyle says, is it possible to get information about funeral homes that is not in a cemetery? I have a relative that I'm sure died in Mesa, Arizona, but I cannot find her in any cemetery. Okay. A couple things to think about. Religion. If you belong to a church, there might be some information there. I'm sure you probably have looked on Find a Grave or Billion Graves. There's also some cemetery censuses out there that you might be able to search. Anybody got any other suggestions? Please put them in the chat window. I'm sure that would be helpful. Also, let me see if there's any others up here. I think I got all the questions. So with that, I think I'm going to say a good day and thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll have gotten something out of that. If so, give me a thumbs up. Consider becoming a patron of Genealogy TV, and I really appreciate you guys joining me today. It looks like we had 219 people watching at one point. So thanks so much. Until next time, keep on climbing your family tree.